The SG Child Show is back for its 13th season. Join Sarah Bradford and the SG Child Show team as they explore the world of autism and share stories of hope and inspiration. This season, we're excited to bring you more autism summits featuring experts and advocates from around the world. Go to sgchilds.org.
In the heart of the city, she's shining bright. Oh yeah, stories of love and courage all throughout the night.
Hey everyone, I wanted to take a second to talk to you about the International Autism Summit coming up in April 25th and 26th. It's going to be streaming free from all of my channels. If you haven't already gone to follow me, go to sgchilds.org, click on any of the social media icons, and go follow me so that you can be with us at the International Autism Summit 2025, April 25th and 26th. Can't wait to see you then. Hi, thanks for joining the SG Child Show today. We're going to have a wonderful conversation. It's already started out so nice to get to know Angela for, 2 minutes. So I'm excited to dive a little deeper and get to know you so much more. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for the work you do. And we'll get to that in here in a minute. But before that, let's have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello and greetings from sunny California, not Southern California, but certainly not Southern California, but sunny California, even though it is threatening to rain today. But yeah, I'm Angela Fowler. I'm an accessibility consultant. And fun fact, I'm also totally blind.
Wow. And I love that we are being able to meet like this and have this conversation so that you can share your amazing work and really help our listeners understand the importance of what you're doing. So tell us your kind of backstory. What brought you to this point?
Well, and it truly does come down to a lack of understanding in terms of why the general public does not embrace accessibility. People just don't understand the importance. But I didn't always realize that. I spent a lot of time in the advocacy movement, and people with disabilities have professional organizations just like every other group does, and the disability organizations often take the attitude of civil rights organizations. So we can get in our own echo chambers and, frustrations build and other perspectives aren't taken. And we can get very antithetical toward others. We develop an us against them attitude. It's typical of communities that have a common challenge and that form their own echo chambers. On one hand, it's a good thing because we can all relate to each other. And on the other hand, sometimes we let it get a little out of control. So I spent a lot of time in that environment. And so when I would come across something that didn't work properly, so the way blind people navigate, let me take a step back and get into that before I go any further so I can give a little context. We use screen readers. And what a screen reader is it's a piece of software that quite literally reads the screen. And in order for it to work properly, things have to be built properly. So labels have to be there and be understandable. Links have to be labeled and buttons and things have to be labeled according to their purpose. Images have to be described. The form fields need to be labeled. And if you're going to use really fancy pants things, like accordions and things like that, they need to be coded so that A, they're accessible via the keyboard, and B, they work with screen readers. Screen readers actually know what the heck they are. Excuse me. So and that's something, what I just said there is going to be news to the overwhelming majority of your audience.
Yeah.
We have a messaging problem, right? We're not out there educating people as much as we should be. But when I was younger, I'd get really frustrated, and I'd think, what are you doing? Why are you not doing these things that are so simple that would allow me to have equal access?
Yeah.
But my perspective was changed when I started actually working with designers and developers, right? I saw people with varying degrees of knowledge about accessibility, but who all wanted to do the right thing. They just didn't know what the right thing was. So I went from this firebrand advocate to, I guess you'd say, a firebrand educator.
That's so important. And is that what started the website and the continuing education for the communities?
Yeah, I realized that if designers and developers don't know what the right thing is, what about business people? How do you talk to business people who don't know what a screen reader is, let alone the benefits to businesses of investing in accessibility?
Absolutely. And, there's so many types of accessibility that need to be available. And just like you said, we don't know until we do.
Yep.
Sometimes even that we need it or that it should be in place. What types of misconceptions are there from the general public, from businesses that you see that we can kind of shed some light on?
Well, I think there's two that are prevalent and that are really, really harmful. The first is that accessibility is just for those disabled people over there. We gotta make the website accessible to help the poor disabled people. And that's not what accessibility is, really. Though it certainly does give people with disabilities equal access to things. It certainly does allow us to use your products and services just like everybody else does. The things that you do to make your website accessible to people with disabilities also make them more user-friendly for everybody. I talked about labeling. A lot of people don't understand icon-ease. A lot of people benefit from having the word there.
Yeah.
Form labels. The ability to click on the label and have focus and be able to type into your form field. That helps a lot of just regular old people.
Absolutely.
Not having store aisles that narrow helps a lot of revenue. I had my hands like 6 inches apart. Not having aisles that narrow, it sure seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not being on the laps of the people sitting at the table next to you in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you aren't you more likely to go to a restaurant where you got room to breathe?
Yeah. A little bit of privacy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can actually have a conversation without the people, next to you,
Exactly. If we wanted that, we would go to a busy sports bar, possibly.
Well, that brings me to the topic of loud media.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I go to the bar and they say, oh, the band will be playing in 30 minutes. I say, thanks for the warning.
Give you a heads up on that.
Give me a heads up. Just let me know it's coming so I can get the heck out of there.
Yeah, definitely.
More people have stated, I'm not going back to this restaurant because of loud music than because of poor service. And that's an accessibility thing. People that are hard of hearing if you wear hearing aids, if you go to a restaurant and want to actually have a conversation with somebody, you would rather the music not even be on.
It's just amplified, huh?
We're willing to compromise at a very low background level.
Mm.
So, but the second misconception about accessibility is that accessibility is too expensive.
Mm.
I say, oh, if we start doing accessibility, we're going to have to redesign everything. We're going to have to bulldoze our building and rebuild it. And no, most accessibility fixes cost little to nothing. And for the things that are more expensive, so you do have to have somebody come in and fix some of the components on your website so they're actually keyboard accessible. I like to take a harm reduction approach. I like to say, okay, what are the actual blockers here? What are the actual things that are keeping people from using your site as opposed to the things that are just annoying? So we'll tackle the actual blockers first. Also, if there's things that we can tackle easily and for free that significantly improve the user experience or low cost, we'll do that too. So, the blockers and the easy wins are what we go for first, and the rest of it can be taken care of, over time. And again, if you can afford to just fix your whole website, that's great. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're making progress, especially small businesses, right? If you're making progress, if you can demonstrate that you're making progress, not only does that stand you in much better stead in the court of public opinion, but legally you're protected too for the most part.
Yeah.
I can't say definitively this is legal stuff we're talking about, but for all intents and purposes.
And we should be, and I hope that maybe after listening to this, people can get some better ideas of, we should be, for those of you who don't have a website yet, setting things up ahead of time, preparing and getting things set up accordingly so that you aren't having to go and change things and you're doing it from the start. Just as I think that we need to do the same with buildings.
Absolutely. It costs
and
you
accessibility.
Absolutely. So it costs you just as much money to build an accessible website as it does to build an inaccessible website. So let me go through this. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, I recommend using WordPress. Avoid the drag and drop builders like Wix. Avoid those. The advantage of WordPress is you can pick accessible themes and plugins. And if you make a mistake, it's a hell of a lot easier to fix it. If you're going to hire a web developer, make sure that they prioritize accessibility. Some developers, we'll build you a good-looking website. Okay, but nobody can find anything. Make sure that they build for user experience first.
Yeah.
And accessible user experience first. And also, once it's built, take a spin through your own website. Make sure that it makes sense to you.
And that's something that you do for companies, is that you go in and take a look at their website and help break those things down so that they can create better accessibility experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't just say, oh, you're doing this and this and this wrong. I point out the errors and I point you to resources that tell you how to fix them. Mm-hmm. We do have a done for you option, but we'd rather teach you. I'd rather do it with you. I'd rather teach you how to make your website accessible, because if I do that, you won't break it inadvertently next time you update it.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. If I teach you to fish,
that's
that.
That's the saying, huh?
Oh.
What can we do just kind of as community members in our own communities? How can we start to be, better perceiving or understanding how to help the members of our own community?
You mean like if you run into someone with a disability?
Yeah. Yeah, just in general. What do you think is good for advice for people?
The biggest mistake that a lot of people make is they assume that someone with a disability needs help. So say you see someone with a disability out in the community, they're trying to find the entrance to a store, for example. And if you're blind, it might take you a little bit longer to find that entrance because you can't, you have to actually explore one way and then explore the other and find it. You can't if you can't see it. But a lot of people assume that means we need help. In fact, it might just mean we guessed wrong. So you just ask.
Yeah.
And sometimes people have assumed that I've been going somewhere that I actually wasn't going. Do not assume. We all know what it means to assume, right?
That's for sure.
And a lot of people, because we do things differently, a lot of people assume that we're not as capable as we actually are. So let's take the lead, ask if we need help. Be okay with the answer. Don't be offended if we reject the help. Really.
Yeah.
Your ego should not depend on whether a blind person accepts your help or not. But unfortunately, with a lot of people's do.
That's interesting.
It's incredible, really. And if we need help, if say for example you want to help us get from one place to another, don't be what I call a grabby draggy.
Oh yeah.
Don't do that. That was okay when my son was a toddler, when he didn't have the words to like tell me what he wanted. But once people get to about age 5, they usually grow out of that behavior.
Yeah.
Assume competence unless proven otherwise. And see us as more than our disability. I'm a sports fan. I like to argue about sports. I'm interested in current events. I don't necessarily like to argue about those because most people are crazy.
I won't argue with that.
Him and I go back and forth all the time. It's fun. But I like to barbecue. I like a little true crime. There's so many things that are essential to who I am.
Yeah.
I got a wicked sense of humor.
That's for sure.
I'm not outspoken at all. I'm a quiet little church mouse.
That's what you've been told your whole life, I'm sure.
There is so much more to us than just our disability.
Yeah. Yeah. And how has that been? I'm sure times have changed just as, our whole family is autistic and ADHD. Mm-hmm. And so much has changed in the decade or 2 decades of our, in the community with their understanding, with a little bit more education. And there's still so much work to go, isn't there? But you can appreciate the changes over time. How would you say now, in 2025, how are we looking now as far as being more graceful, more understanding, a little bit more human, a little bit more dignity towards everyone? Are we headed in the right direction?
I think it varies from place to place. I think COVID robbed us of what little social graces we all had.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to recover from that. It really does vary from place to place and situation to situation. The one change that I've seen has really been in myself. I try not to get, and I still do. I'm human, but I try not to get as frustrated by the weirdness of people on the street. I try to just laugh it off. The people freak out when they see a long white cane coming as if it was a rattlesnake. The weird questions you get, like, wow. But you really you really got to just laugh it off, because you can't let it affect your the way you relate to the next person.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to go home, have a couple beers, and be like, you know what, I'm done with people for a while.
Let it go. Yep.
God.
I hear that. And sometimes it's family,
Yeah, sometimes it's just
Yep. That's too funny. What can we do globally? How can we scale this? How do we need to look at this on a global scale?
I can only speak for people with disabilities. We need to become less dependent on government and more dependent on ourselves. And here's why. And I'm talking collectively, okay? This perceived incapability, this perceived need for charity, a lot of it stems from the fact that we are associated with the need for government assistance. And when you're dependent on something or somebody, that thing or person has power over you. So if we as people with disabilities want to claim our power, we need to, and I'm not saying everybody, there's still going to be times when we need the government, but we need a hand up rather. But overall, we need to break free of that control. And it's going to take a cultural shift.
Yeah.
Globally, the shift needs to be, and again, this is a cultural shift. It needs to be away from the model of, oh, we need to help the disabled people, and toward a model of, let's appreciate everybody for their unique gifts and talents.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on what people can do, not what people can't do. And DEI has really hurt us. DEI has really hurt us. Hire me, accept me, promote me because I'm awesome. Don't do it because I'm blind.
Right. Yeah, the wrong message is taken away from that.
Yep.
I do agree. I agree with that. And I like what you said about, it'll be a cultural shift, and it may take who knows how long generation to do so.
Yeah.
And it's all about what we now are teaching our younger generations. Absolutely. And how to shift and how to shape the future for accessibility, accommodating, but independence, having both sides of that. How can we create this independence with whatever, accommodating as a human factor rather than as a need for, like you said, a care to type of way. So
Mhm.
yeah, and then of course it's individual to everyone, literally individually.
Yep.
And so that has to be taken, into account for sure. But it's your own lived experience, and I appreciate you sharing that with us and sharing those vulnerabilities and helping us understand how we can move forward today, tomorrow with a different mindset and maybe some actionable tasks we can do to take away.
Yep.
Definitely.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on here and share my experience and rant and rave a little bit. And
It's been great. I appreciate it. And I'd love to get together and just chat sometime and have a good laugh and talk about some, trips to Bucks Lake or something. It's been so nice. And, I am putting up your website right now, reallifeaccess.com.
Yep.
That's where you can go to see what Angela is working on to make. I went and followed all of her pages and all of the of her YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So go on and make sure that you do that so that we can, come together, my SJ Child's Tribe, and support all my wonderful guests. So I appreciate that so much.
Well,
It's
thank
been
you.
such a pleasure to get to know you today.
It's been super fun.
Yeah, you have a great personality, and I think you're doing everything right, doing everything the way you're supposed to be doing it, and it comes across, and it's so authentic. It's so really, I want people to go and look at your websites, check them out, make sure that you're being accessible. I'm gonna double check mine. Maybe am I accessible? Now I need to know. Hopefully that is the case, but maybe I'll.
Well, and if you ever want somebody to just take a quick look at your website, just fill out that contact form on my site, and we can set up a meeting and we can figure out where to go from there.
I love it. Thank you so much. I look forward to staying in touch and some great conversations to come.
All right. Sounds good.
Talk to you soon.
All right. You too.
In the heart of the city, she's shining bright. Oh yeah, stories of love and courage all throughout the night. Her voice resonating, an anthem for all through the trials and the trials. She answers the call, a mother and a fighter, breaking barriers in stride. With love as her guide, she'll never hide. She's changing the world for you with a heart that's fierce strong, empathy's a melody. In our journey we all belong. Followers gather like stars in the night, so bright. 44,000 voices sharing in the light. She stands for family, advocates for more, a movement of compassion, ways will soar. Podcast together, a symphony of support, creating life, changing report. She's changing the world for you with a heart that's fierce and strong. Empathy's a melody in a